In this video, we're going to talk about how to make sure that your graded items are set up so that you can avoid syncing issues with your gradebook. So what you're going to want to do is if you're going to add a graded item, so graded items are assignments, assessments, and discussions. What you're going to want to do is make sure that you have a few settings on your graded item set perfectly. So one of the things you want to do is give yourself a unique title. You will be able to see 14 characters of your title in your gradebook. So in order to see a specific title, you might want to include the date that it's due. Of course, this is going to be your assignment, but we're going to focus on grading. So you want to make sure you always have a due date. And the reason for this is that there's two different reasons. One, any missing due date is not going to factor into the student's average until the last day of the report period. That is going to cause confusion for you and mismatched grades between Schoology and eSchools. So make sure you have a due date so that it syncs properly. The due date also has to be a school day. So that means a weekday that is a non-holiday and a non-weekend. It will not sync if the due date is not a school day outside of the report period. So you want to enable grading. You have to choose a grading category that syncs with eSchool. So if you remember, on the eSchool Plus tab, we set up the configurations. So this would be completion, summative informative for our secondary gradebooks, and completion, benchmarks, classworks, exit tickets, homeworks, and quizzes for our elementary gradebooks. You have to choose one of these in order to avoid a sync error. For example, ungraded provides a sync error. Do not select ungraded, select completion ungraded instead. You also have to choose a report period. It also should match the date, meaning this due date should be within this report period or you're going to have a sync error. Make sure that you leave sync to SIS checked. Even if you don't want the grade to count, you need to leave it syncing or else you're going to have an error because it's going to opt out the sync. So those are the quick things that you're going to want to make sure that you have included when you're setting up your graded item. A few other best practices include going to your eSchool Plus tab and looking at your sync changes platform. So when you get to your sync grades, the sync status is your default. You're going to look for anything that does not say successful. And you want to make sure that you check all pages. And so you're going to want to see that things are syncing properly. If you know that you just made some changes to items, hit the Sync Changes button so that it'll jumpstart any items that you've recently changed or added. If you have any items where it hasn't been syncing, it's going to stop trying after 5 times. This Sync Changes button is going to start that sync over again. So one of the things you'll notice is if you hover over your error, you're going to see what the error message is. This is saying that a grading category that syncs is required. One of the best ways to do this is go to your gradebook, click on the triple dots to get to your bulk edit. And now you're going to be able to see all of your graded items. So you're going to want to look to make sure things are published. Otherwise, your students don't see those grades. You're going to want to make sure that you have a syncing grading category. So any of the ungradeds need to be changed, or any of the blanks. You have to have a report period and sync to SIS. Also, this is an easy way where if you have your graded items all named the same, you're going to want to change those names here so it's easier to figure out which one is which. So you'll want to make sure that any of the items that aren't syncing, that you're able to change them here so that once they have the correct category and you hit save, you can go back and sync those. One of the cool tips is that if you go back to your gradebook, you can also sync directly from here. And you can see your sync log from here as well. Don't forget, hit that sync changes button now that you just made some changes so that it goes through. Another thing to be mindful of, if you delete a student's grade, let's say the student originally had a 75 and I deleted it, if I don't replace the grade, it will not update in eSchool. So make sure for any time you delete a grade, either go ahead and change the grade to a 0 or go ahead and change it to an exception. Another trick is that if you delete an assignment that has already been syncing to eSchool, you will need to go to eSchool to delete it from there as well. Don't make any edits directly into the TAC. Make sure you're adding all of your grading assignments here, or else they will not match. And if you happen to set up drop lowest, here you have to remove that, and there are directions for how you set up the drop lowest in eSchool Plus, and then you come to your configuration page, and that's where you will set it up from here. You have to first set it up in eSchool, and then it's going to populate here if you do drop lowest. Good luck, and check your gradebook sync status at least every other week. And that way, at the end of the report period, you'll be good to go.